Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, hi, my name is Neha. I make video on tech and my life in the UK. Before I start today's video, I would like to say thanks to each and everyone who are sending me their questions on NGL, Twitter, LinkedIn, and also the folks who are meeting me on TopMate. I am not gonna share anyone's name while answering few questions, but trust me, your questions are very helpful. They help me to make these videos as well as they help the people who are watching it. So thank you. So let's start with the first question. So the first question is, how often you got DSA round? I would say very frequently. At least one round in most of the interview was DSA round. The questions, if I will talk about, they were mixed. Even one of the interview, I got an easy question and I was like super happy. But later on, the question, the way it went, it started with easy, but then the interviewers start adding the complexity, and then it become a very good problem statement. Now, talking about, they don't ask about the space complexity or time complexity directly. They love to talk about the approach around that and comparison of approaches. I think the reason was because I am a senior developer and I was applying for tech lead or architect. They wanted to see how I am behaving or how I am taking the decision that which approach is good and all that. So it's not like straightforward, this is a problem, tell me the space complexity, time complexity, and optimize it. It's a more about the discussion around the problem and obviously writing the code, asking for different solution. Most of the time it is one round, but in few of the company I have seen it in the second round also it goes. Talking about the language, definitely free whichever language you want to use, but I come from JavaScript background, so I was using JavaScript. No one judges you that you are using JavaScript. What they ask you is that in whichever language you are comfortable, you can go ahead. How I prepared for my DSA, I already made the video on that. Most of the folks right nowadays are very good in lead code grinding, lead code. So for them, it's a pretty good thing. I came from that background where I never did DSA. I am from JavaScript background. So for me, preparing for DSA was very different way. I already spoke about in 2 of my videos. If you wanted to explore that, please go ahead and watch that. Okay, moving to next, interview resources. There are ample resources available on interviews, but it depends upon that what is your focus area. I would say I will talk about the type of rounds and then I will try to share the resources around that. So for DSA, I already talked about. Then there is the fundamental rounds. Now a lot of people assume that they will ask you React.js or Next.js. In my experience, the most of the rounds were focusing on HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. There were few who were asking React.js. So, and there were few companies in which they have the first round on fundamentals, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then on React.js. So, my advice to you, if you doesn't know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or you are not confident, I would say that should be your first step to start with. There are ample resources available online, YouTube, Udemy. I would say please go ahead and invest your time. Do not bother about all the frameworks, libraries around HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Just learn the fundamentals. Like the most frequent content I see is about Tailwind. I have no hate on Tailwind. I use very frequently Tailwind on my side projects. But in interviews, no one asks you Tailwind. They just want to see your CSS knowledge. And if you know CSS, then Tailwind or whatever the new utility class, framework, library is coming in future, it would be a piece of cake for you. So my advice to you is, if you are confused that there are so many CSS libraries, there are so many JavaScript libraries, there is so much noise around HTML, please stop that distraction. Invest your time in just learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript first. That's it. Once you are done with that, then move to the second step. Now, second step is they are going to ask you React.js. Now, in both HTML, CSS, JS and React.js, this time in my interviews, no one asked me like, explain what is context, explain what is promise. It was more of a hands-on discussion. So there were code, I need to fix it or I need to add new features and discussion around that. And that is actually very good. So for React.js, I would say, obviously their official documentation is pretty good. Apart from that, you can look for Udemy, you can look for YouTube free videos. There are so many content creators who are making videos. It depends upon you which one you like. You can go ahead and pick that. Apart from that, you will be facing system design round based on your experience. So if you are 5 years plus, you might get system design round. Now here the system design round very rarely depends upon the front end problems. It would be the more of a back end or the full stack problems. So if you are a front end developer, you are already working in your company, I'm pretty sure you know system design for front end. It is more about that this is the feature we want you to design it. So you need to talk about how you are going to break it into the components, how you are going to organize the state, which CSS library you are going to use, how you are going to do the deployment, and all these things. But in interview, most of the time you will get the more out of less this kind of problems, but more like a proper system design backend problem. Like for example, just giving you an example, that you have a React.js application. Let's design the deployment of that. So they will start with asking how you are going to deploy it. If you will say S3, they will say now we have a Node.js server. Now where you are going to deploy it, you will say EC2. Then you will say, they will ask you how many EC2 you are going to deploy, how you are going to manage the peak traffic time, how you are going to decide that where you want the caching or not, how your APIs are going to design where you are going to deploy it, when the traffic is coming, how you are going to scale it, how you are going to optimize the traffic, how you are going to optimize the cost, and so much. So everything will go shift from your CSS components problem to your backend problem. So for that, I would say start learning system design from the backend. Now for resources, I started with Byte. It's a wonderful channel, YouTube channel. You can go watch it, start from there. I also have the book from the author of Byte, volume 1 and volume 2. Both are good. Once you will start getting yourself into these kind of content, you will see more and more content or the resources around it. So yeah, for system design, I would say that's a good place. But if you are a front-end developer and you are wanted to know about system design, I made a few videos. And in my opinion, if you are working in your company, that would be your best step to start with front-end system design, that how your current project has been designed from the front end. Understand that, understand how everything is connecting together. And if you have to design the same thing, what are the things you are going to take care? Most of the interviews this time I faced, they actually didn't ask me very repetitive questions like design a Twitter, design a e-commerce application, design search autocomplete. No, they didn't ask me these kind of questions, and I appreciate the interviewers and the company for their creativity. They took a problem of their own existing product, and we had a good discussion around that, and I appreciated that because the repetitive problems have very very theoretical answers already ready. There is no creativity. But doing a brainstorming on a problem which is associated with a product where you might be working helps you a lot to be very creative in interviews and to be on your toes. So yeah, these are the few resources I would say. And I would also suggest one more resource, which is your behavioral round. Few companies actually ask for the behavioral rounds. I used to think that I'm a very good in those rounds. I don't need to prepare. But when I was preparing for Amazon, I actually learned that no, I'm not there. So I prepare for my behavioral round this time very well. I would say I spent most of my time in behavioral round this time. For this, I actually took few mock interviews to understand that where I need to improve. And then the interviewers, who took my mock interviews, they helped me to point out to me the right direction. So what I would suggest you, go on YouTube, search for behavioral interviews, understand what they ask, how your answer should be structured. That would be a good starting point for you. Okay, so yeah, these were the few interview resources I can suggest you. Now let's move to the next question. How you select which resource to follow? Okay. For me, I don't follow a lot of resources. I'm very aggressive in unsubscribing from the channel, unsubscribing from the newsletter, because I'm that kind of person who get distracted very easily. So I try to keep my feeds of YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere very clean. Even of my inbox, I don't want any extra email in my inbox because it distracts me. So I am very good now in, when I need a resource, I subscribe, and when I don't need, I unsubscribe. This actually helped me to keep my energy focused and helps me to focus on the most important thing. Second thing what I do is I follow minimum resources. I learned it very early in my career that having a lot of resources is not going to help me. Having one resource and giving it 100% of mine will definitely help me. The last thing I want to do is sitting on my table and deciding, from which resource I should be studying. There was a time when I used to have the subscription of every tutorial website, Udemy, Master Frontend, Egghead, you name it and I have it. But at the end of the year, I used to think that which one I was able to finish. Zero. So what I decided is that I'm not gonna I'm not gonna purchase any course. If I'm so good and I really need, I will start with YouTube. Then I will go to the Udemy. If I have finished Udemy course, then only if needed, I will go and purchase other. Now for me, whenever I want to start learning any new topic, I will give you an example. For example, I want to learn cloud. When I started learning cloud was the most complex landscape for me because it is so vast. So what I did is, first I spoke to someone who is very experienced in cloud and working in cloud. When I say very experienced, it doesn't mean that person was just having 2 years of experience or 5 years of experience. I spoke to someone who was having more than 10 years of experience. Now, why I was talking about more than 10 years of experience, I'm not saying 10 years in cloud, but in the industry. The reason because that person has already saw the transition from premises to cloud, and also that person also learned cloud, and now that person is working on cloud. So that person will be, I would be able to relate to that person. Plus, I will also got to know from that person, because that person is 10 years plus experience. That person must be sitting in the decision room and understanding that what the future would be, what companies are working towards, how the companies are working towards, what are the things they have to take care of when they are talking about the cloud, what kind of engineers they are hiring when it comes to the cloud, because senior people only get involved in such decision. And I wanted to learn cloud, and I don't wanted to invest on something which has no potential or no job, or in future even I don't even be the first. I don't even be considered to be in the cloud. So the first thing is, I spoke to the person who was very senior in industry with the cloud experience to understand that how to start with cloud, what is the how much price I have to put there, spend for trainings. Should I go and get the certification? Should I do it self-study? How should I start with that? So I started with talking to someone. Then I went over YouTube to understand that what is cloud. I used to search. I'm not a follower of any content creator or YouTube channel. I'm more into, this is my problem, whichever videos fit in my problem, it's good. So searching the problem, understanding that, and then the next stop was Udemy. I feel there is no alternative of Udemy. It is affordable. You can learn it in your pace, and if you don't like it, you can return it. In 30 days, you will get your money back. So what I did is I took a course from Udemy. I do it for everything what I'm learning, then Udemy. And I used to start learning, watching those videos. Wherever I used to get stuck, I used to either YouTube the problem, or I used to reach out to the people to help me out to understand this. So this is how I select my resources. For Udemy, I don't need to be worried, because it is 500 rupees only, and I can return it if I am not able to understand it. But I will again talk about cloud. I have no idea about the cloud. So for me, every content was same. So I have to start with something. So I would suggest you do not waste your time in finding the best resource. I would suggest you take any resource and start. Just start. After a few weeks or month, you yourself will see your progress. Like, I am very proud of myself. When I started cloud, I was having no idea about cloud. Today I can talk a lot about cloud. So this is how the progress looks like, and this is only and only because of I didn't went into the tutorial hell or YouTube hell or whatever you want to call it. I spoke to one person, understand what is cloud, how the landscape is, how the learning is, how the job perspective is, what kind of questions companies ask, and all that. Then I moved to YouTube to look for the beginner content to understand what is cloud. Am I able to understand it? What kind of projects? Basically, everyone has their own type of questions. Just I was trying to get those answers, and then I just straightforward moved to Udemy. In cloud, I already talked about that I took a certificate, why I took the certificate, and all that. That's a different thing. Today, if I have to learn any language, let's talk about Rust. If I have to start with Rust, I will do the same thing. Minus, I'm not gonna talk to any person because I already know about Rust, how the industry is, and everything. So I will straightforward go on YouTube, search for the Rust beginner tutorial just to get an idea what is Rust, how to use it, how to install it, what kind of applications to make, understand a little bit of syntax, and then I will move to a Udemy Rust course so that I can make few projects and understand more in depth that. That's it. This is what I'm gonna do. And if needed, I will go for a book also. Now, why I don't recommend much of the books? Because languages, frameworks, syntax keep changing. So I feel that after some time these books become very old because of the language changes, their versions, syntax, and all. So I don't suggest that you invest in that. But it's a good offline way of learning. Like if you are commuting for your work in your office cab or bus, you have an hour or 30 minutes. This offline learning can help you to at least read. So this is how I also prepare for cloud. I was having one Udemy course and one book. So when I used to be in my office and I used to get some 30 minutes between, I used to read the book of cloud. So for me, I know I spoke a lot, so let me summarize it. I don't believe in purchasing a lot of resources. I always stick to one resource. If that resource is not good or that is not enough, then I switch to another resources. I always start with talking to someone who is very experienced in the industry in that particular domain to get an idea that how I can start, what are the things I should take care, how the job perspective is, and everything. And then I move to the YouTube. I go on YouTube, I search for cloud for beginners. I go for cloud for beginners and questions around that, and then I go and buy Udemy course. I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what is your strategy when you are picking your resources. Okay, the next question is how to fight FOMO. Oh, this is gonna be very hard. It is not easy in today's digital age that you can fight FOMO, and we are humans. This is human nature that we are always tempted towards different things. I think with age and with little bit of pep talk, you can manage it. Why I spoke about age? Because when I was in my 20s, I used to have FOMO on everything. But with time, so the next question is how to fight FOMO. So this is gonna be very tough. I'm not gonna lie about it. With as a human, this is our nature that we always feel FOMO. But the thing is, with age and with little bit of pep talk, you can manage it. So the one thing is,